Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 213 of Kouryer podcast. Our today's guest is Mr. Geoffrey Bertrand-Gerbaud. Gerbaud, see, I knew I would mess this up. I'm sorry. And he's a concept and visual development artist from Paris, France. And before we go into the signature questions of the podcast, I'm just going to quickly mention that in the for context section of the captions, you can find his Instagram ID, so you can go follow him there, if you want, and also the links to his Twitter and our session profile, so you can, go check those stuff out as well. And with that being said, how are we doing today?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Rantin, for having me here. I watched a couple of your podcast with talented artists you have interviewed. So really, thank you for being part of this. I'm doing fine. Yeah, perfectly. Just a little bit overwhelmed right now because I start a new job on Monday. So yeah, busy week.
Oh, wow, man. Congratulations. And by the way, thank you so much for pronouncing my name correctly on the first try without asking me even before the recording. You pronounce it perfectly right, but I'm sorry for even double checking. I still mispronounce your name. So yeah, I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, no problem.
And all right. Yeah. So, all right. So let's go into the signature question of the podcast, which is give us a little introduction on how we got into the world of visual arts and design. Like, basically tell us the story of like your origin story of, how did you become an artist, or how did you decide, what made you decide to become an artist,
Oh boy, that's a long one. I will try to keep it short, but when I drew ever since I was a kid. Mostly copy on the characters in manga and video games. But I think it was around when I was 14, I played Zelda Twilight Princess. Yeah, I know that's my first Zelda. Then after I do all the rest of them. But that was the first time I really asked myself, how can we create something like this, something huge, mesmerizing, all the story, the characters, the environment. So yeah, I was starting to digging up in this area to understand all, the work we can do to create a video game. And, I don't know if it happens to you, but when I was a kid, playing when I bought a new game, in the box, there was this little manual. And before just playing the game, I always read this little manual, watch all the little drawing they made in it, and it was like just a book before just diving into a good universe. So yeah. After that, when I was 19, I started an art school during 5 years. So I learned all about, concept art for video game, become a 3D artist, a 3D game artist. So, and working with all the other departments. And, after that, I worked as concept artist in a little company. But after 3 years, the company closed. So I was during 1 year, I was with not work because my skills was not high enough, to go back in the industry. So this year I took back, a formation on an art school, and right now. Successfully, I'm working for two companies. So yeah.
All right, that sounds awesome. And yeah, those game manuals, I totally remember them. And I still, not just those manuals, but magazines as well. I don't know if how was the deal in France, but I'm sure when Iran had video game magazines, then 100%,
Yeah.
France must have had it as well. And it has its own culture around here as well. And I used to collect them, and they would have posters of different games by random in the inside of it. And I would love that. My room was always filled with posters, of different upcoming video games or concept art and stuff like that. Yeah, and that's kind of interesting. But then my next question is like, when you decided to become a like work in the game industry and stuff like that, what was your family's reaction? Were they any like objection that, hey, maybe you should go try a safer route, go become an engineer or an accountant or something else? Was there anything like this, or they just understood from the get go and were cool with it?
It was both sides. On my mom's side, they were really artistic. My granddad was an artist too, so they pretty much understand this. But on my father's side, they were not happy with that decision, and I was really bad at school. So there was really a lot worried about this choice.
Yeah, and that's interesting. And I think it's mostly when like you say you want to become an artist, and sometimes they might be like have their own doubts, but as soon as you get a job, their opinions, their mind will be at more ease and peace. That okay, he can survive on his own with art. So that's gonna be fine. I think it's mostly that once you can show your family that side of aspect of things, I think they'll usually put their minds at ease. And now another thing that I could ask you is that I actually want to ask you is. In the introduction, I mentioned that you're a concept and a visible artist, but now I want to ask between each of those, or maybe both of them at the same time, are they your main branch of design? And give us a little explanation of how you decide to settle on this, because you also mentioned you also practice to be like a 3D artist in the game industry. So how was your art journey in that regards?
In that regards, I always knew that I wanted to become a concept artist, especially specialize, in environment and props design. But yeah, in my first art school, we had to learn also, it was more general overall, all the job we can apply as an artist in the game industry. So there are a lot of work in 3D software like Maya, but I was always sure that I wanted to be a concept artist. Just at this time, I was really lacking of fundamentals, colors, fundamentals, value, structure, everything. But after that, I try my best, to learn on the side with most of, of video on YouTube of artists trying to explain how that works, brushwork, value structure. So yeah, basically my journey was just, learning back and forth and trying some new pieces.
All right. And now here's the thing. I kind of took a look at your stuff on ArtStation and like your portfolio, and I kind of noticed a lot of interesting stuff when in your designs. Like for example, especially the raccoon house, and it's kind of interesting because I checked it, and from the thumbnail I kind of was like, this art style is kind of like not art style. Like how should I say it? The vibe, I guess, like that's like an informal word. But the vibe and energy of your works really reminded me of another artist who I also had on the podcast, like Elodie Mondoloni, if I'm not mispronouncing her.
Yeah, and that was during a course of ours. I designed this raccoon house.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, then I saw the captions that I was like, oh, so that explains it. But still, the good thing. Like, here's one of the things that I even tell my friends who are trying to learn become a concept artist. There are a lot of things that your portfolio should portray, but one of the main things that I've also seen in that specific piece we're talking about is the the iterative design. Like you design multiple versions of it, and you also made some mini sub designs, like for every different props and assets, and that is really important, if you want to make a good portfolio and get hired, because in the studios you most times, and by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, you need to make multiple versions as a concept artist of the same thing that your art director or someone else tells you to make, so they can pick out of multiple choices, so which one they like the most, and that was really nice. But the reason I said this, I want to ask you this: how does your design process usually go anytime you want to start working on a new piece or a project? Like, tell me a little bit about your pipeline and workflow.
All right. About my workflow, it's basically just browsing many references, architecture. For the example, for the Raccoons library, I based all my architecture design on a tribe, an African tribe that exists. I don't know. I don't remember the name of that tribe, but just find some patterns that I could use, but not just copy the references, but use them, and just with a little of work, try some new shapes. The big deal when I am working some early designs, it's just focusing on the overall shapes. Keep my big, medium, and small detail equivalent. So yeah. First of all, a lot of references. Then, when I am good with one of them, I try some different color mood, just to see in which direction I'm moving on. Sometimes I will paint on it directly, and sometimes I will use a Blender just to model, add some light settings, and just paint over.
All right, and now here's an interesting thing. What was the first ever art job you had? Like, do you remember it? Like, the first time you got paid for art?
The first time I was paid for work, that was my first company back in 2018. I think, yeah, in 2018, and I was concept artist, environment concept artist for them, and yeah, that was really a great opportunity. I learned really a lot with them, so yeah, that was cool.
All right, now let's talk about some of your works. Actually, let's talk about there's some interesting things I noticed that I want to actually talk about and ask you about. Let me go to the first one that is actually intriguing me the most, and I think that's kind of like my favorite work of yours, which is like the hourglass shrine one.
Yeah,
and like
that was a huge one.
Tell us the story. Yeah, I could tell. And tell us a little bit of backstory, of your work process, your biggest challenges while making this, some major adjustments you made, and also like just any other details you want to share.
All right. On this one, our teacher, Karen Villette, just give us, some grayscale blockouts in Blender, and just we had to make a shrine. We have everything we could do, everything we want with this. Just it has to be to look like a shrine. So I really liked Middle East vibes. So I watch a lot of references about that, the tower, the tribe, the clothes, the pattern, everything, just to try to synth it, to just bring me able to create this one. So I start, sketching some multiple angle on this one with some structure I designed earlier. in Photoshop. Then when I was good with that, I just design every element aside in Photoshop in just in front view. Don't have to focus on the perspective, just to the shape languages, where I need to put more detail and where I leave the piece rest. Then after that, I try to block out everything in Blender and I use bridge on this one, to bring all the texture, and then with the material nodes, tweak them to have a good render. And then after that, I paint over on Photoshop.
All right. And well, in talks of inspirations, like I can see some architectural inspirations, if I'm not mistaken, from like the environments of Assassin's Creed, right? Or Prince of Persia as well.
Yeah.
Were they any part of your inspiration?
Yeah, it was. When I work on a piece like that, I took a lot of references, from the world. That's the big, I think 80% of my references. And then I watch what the game industry have done with that, how they manage the shape languages. And I watch some of Prince of Persia and took one of them to help me with everything.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally, feel the essence of Prince of Persia, especially Prince of Persia 2, like, that hourglass and it works really well in this environment, to be honest, the whole thing. And I really like this one. Like, I could see it being in my desktop background. And
thank you.
All right. Yeah, you're welcome. And here's another thing, like, out of your pieces, the raccoon library, of course we talked about it, but like something tells me you had a lot of fun while doing this, because it looks like, it's obvious when you see someone's, like when you see work, you can realize if the artist had fun doing it or not, and it's just when it comes to design of the props and everything, it's obvious, even from your sketches, you were in the flow, when you were doing it, Do you have anything to share about that piece as well? Like, just like the one you just shared with us?
About the raccoons library?
Yes.
Yes. I am a huge fan about raccoons, and just with all the other students, I was joking about the raccoon. They call me the raccoon master. So yeah, just that's my vibe, just the little animal with a mask of thieves and gloves. Just love that vibe.
Yeah, it's an interesting animal, raccoon. It's like, as a meme, they say it's like there's a meme about have illegal cats. No, sorry, not illegal cats. Forbidden cats, like forbidden pets. Like it's possums, raccoons, capybaras. And yeah, it's internet is so weird sometimes, when something becomes a meme, like out of nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of like it's fascinating, to be honest. But yeah, trash pandas as well. Oh god, yeah, Rocket Raccoon is one of the big ones in the media. Everyone loves that. Who doesn't love Rocket Raccoon? Seriously, everyone loves that character.
Yeah.
And out of all your works, you also did some recent fan art of Dune. Like, is that is it just your fan art you did for practice and portfolio, or was it for a project?
No. It was an assignment, because we at my art school we worked with the art director of Dune, and that was on one of the many exercises we have to do. But basically, we had to, it was for us to learn more about how they proceed in their production. So, and add a new, I just can't remember the word. a new order in the game that doesn't exist in it. That's why I took the Bene Gesserit order.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. And all right, so now speaking of art directors and artists and franchises we talked about, now I want to ask you this: who are some of your favorite artists and designers that have helped you the most, that have inspired you the most? Sorry.
All right. When it comes to inspiration, I think when you are an artist, it moves on all over the year. In January, you can love an artist and be inspiring a lot, and then you learn a new technique, and you will become interested by another artist. But mainly, my most inspiration are from you, Theo. I love his work. Marco Bucci, absolutely learned a lot with his video on YouTube. I love the work of Zach Retz, especially on Puss in Boots 2, which it was the art director of this one. Dice Tsutsumi, love his shape language, his painting skills. Craig Mullins, huge one, and Tibor Nagy, the last one.
Yeah, those are some really good names. Yeah. And oh my God, Puss in Boots 2. Like, have you watched that?
Yeah. I love that one, especially the wolves.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just it's so like, I mean, it must be. I might sound a bit obnoxious by saying this, but this is just my personal opinion. Like, especially these past couple of years, like I'm not the type of person anymore to watch movies or series. Not out of time or anything. It's just, I don't know, maybe my attention span is bad, but I just don't really enjoy them that much. I'm gotten really picky about them,
Yeah.
And but I watched Wall-E, like actually the early this summer, or last like the past summer that happened, summer of 2022, at the July. I watched Wall-E, rewatched it, because Wall-E is like one of my top personal favorite animations ever. I just love Wall-E,
Yeah.
And it's actually my background desktop right now. And the thing is, after that I haven't watched anything.
Oh,
and
right.
I saw Puss in Boots is everywhere on the news, and I was like, I could give it a try. And let me tell you something. It's currently in my top 3 favorite, most enjoyed animations I've ever watched, and a lot of people think I'm just making that up, but you could go watch it and see if I'm lying or not. And the great thing about it is, if you haven't watched the previous Puss in Boots, it's not gonna break the flow of continuity. You can still enjoy it if you haven't watched even Shrek or anything. And yeah, just go watch it. It's just an absolute amazing animation when it comes to writing, execution, art, just chef's kiss. Honestly, it's like it's gonna be in the archives for generations.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think my favorite movie was Disney, The Treasure Planet. I think this one just.
That one was amazing as well.
That's my top one. And just after this one, Puss in Boots 2.
Wow. Yeah, Treasure Planet. That's really interesting to mention that, because I was born in 1997, but the thing is, back in the day, like when I was a child in Iran, there wasn't, of course, there was satellite dishes that people had, even though it was illegal. Actually, fun fact, satellite dishes and receivers were illegal in Iran, and people had them illegally all the time. And because they could access foreign channels, and oh my God, if people did that, that would be anti-Islamic or everything, So let's not get into that subject. But the point is, we had access to a lot of, different European channels, especially because that was technologically closer to us. I guess that was more easier to access. Like I remember, there was this. I think you 100% must know this. Like Ogie and Cockroaches. That was like a huge favorite cartoon of ours. We used to watch them all the time, and there were like different channels who played like different movies and cartoons. I remember, I think Treasure Planet and El Dorado. Like I think those two. I remember bits and pieces of it, but but I've heard a lot of praise from Treasure Planet. I might actually go rewatch it, because like Iron Giant as well. These cartoons are on my never-ending list of things I want to watch,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I never get the mood and energy to actually watch them. Because you can watch something, but it's different when you watch and enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I never get the chance or in a mood to actually enjoy things. So these days, but yeah, I definitely want to watch those. But oh god, yeah. And speaking of projects, what are you working on right now that you can tell us about? What kind of project? Because I mean, of course, if an NDA is involved, we can skip right past this question. But if that's not the case, what are you up to right now?
Yeah, I'm working for Rio Games and I am under NDA. And Monday I will work for Volta Studio, and I will be also under NDA. But beside that, I'm working on an Oracle card game. But it's a family card game because I work on this one with my mom. My mom writes all the text under the card, and I just do the illustration. And hopefully it will come out maybe next year.
That's awesome. Keep us updated.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And by the way, we talked about movies and animation, but about video games. What are some of your favorite video games of all time now? Now that's an interesting question.
I think the big one for me was for sure Zelda, God of War. Love that franchise. God of War, Darksiders. And I think if I need to put the last one, I think it will be Spyro, because I played this one when I was a little kid with my dad on PS1. So yeah.
Have you played Vampire the Masquerade?
Oh, I didn't. I don't know this one.
From 2004, like it's one of those hidden gems that people skipped over, but oh god, recently they remastered it as well, and that's also one of my list of things I want to try. Yeah. And for me, there's like a lot of things that I like, but if I could just on top of my head want to say a couple of games that, well, of course, my top favorite of all time will never change, and it's Fallout New Vegas, obviously. Since I was 12, that's been my number one. Mm-hmm. And if I could say some other random games, in no particular order, I think Disco Elysium could be one of them. There's so many games I like Factorio, I guess. Yeah. I kind of like post-apocalyptic settings, but especially I like the post-apocalyptic settings where it's not the cliche post-apocalyptic, because every post-apocalyptic is like everything is bad and wrong and like, evil and destroyed. There's no water. There's fight. Like in my own personal IPs, I'm trying to explore ideas of like maybe a future where, yeah, sure, everything's messed up, but there are people hopeful and making a pretty thing out of an ugly thing, like making like, I don't know, a huge tree garden out of a broken shell of a mech, for example, who was a battle mech. Like Volley. The reason why I really love Volley is they come back to okay, wait. A spoiler alert for anyone. Cover your ears for like the next 30 seconds. And yeah, here we go. So in the end of Volley, we see that they come back to the planet, and it's a really rubbish. Everywhere is filled with rubbish and sand. The environment is pretty hostile, but they try to make plants and greenery to restore again. That's the type of thing I like to explore, not just blood and guts and Mad Max and Fallout. They're good at their own place, but genre exploration is like one of my favorite hobbies, to be honest. How about you?
Yeah. I think my I really love historical games, just like God of War, about all the gods, all of the gods, the Nordic one in the last two one and the Greek ones. Just love that when I was a kid. Watch all the gods, having their own characters, seeing their sentences. That was really awesome for me. But yeah, I was more like I really love action adventure game. So basically, just moving in the map alone, just hearing the good music, the beautiful environment, landscape, everything.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Yeah, I like that too. And yeah, oh god, I wanted to say something and I completely forgot it. Like it was about, I guess. Forgot it. Never mind. It's not gonna come back. All right. So aside from art, is there any other thing you would be interested to explore and learn and do in the future once you kind of got more time?
I don't actually. I don't know. I think I have again many more ways to learn about my work. Especially, I want to try to go in the animation section. Try to do some visual development for movies. So I think the next 5 years will be around that. And after that, I don't have any idea for the moment.
All right. Well, we've reached the end of the podcast with the last question and section of the podcast, which is called Time Capsule. And if you've listened to any of the previous episodes, which I think you said you did, you can kind of understand what this part is about, but so basically, in a limited amount of time, let's say a few minutes, you have the opportunity to say anything that you want as a human being to another human being. And that another human being is anyone who's listening to this episode at any point of time in future. So imagine you could say anything and people could listen to it. It's not about art. It's just in general, What do you have to say?
Like the one that you have interviewed said, I don't want to be cliche, but I think just live your dream. The goal isn't your dream. The path bringing just the path to go to your dream is the dream. I don't know if you know what I mean, but you want to become an artist. All right, that's your goal. But the really dream is it's just the journey to achieve it. So yeah, and I would say to everyone, if you are scared of something, just do it. If something that you want to do scares you, just do it. It will just bring you more joy, and yeah, you will be proud of yourself about that.
All right, that's actually a really good answer. And yeah, I think I mentioned in the other podcast before, of course, sure, most answers are going to fall into the same cliche of self-help and motivation, which is fine. But the interesting thing is, if you ask 50 different people to talk about one subject, they all gonna have different type of perspectives and answer. And that's actually my whole point with this question, So it's okay for the answer to be in a cliche realm. It's just like everyone's presentation and execution is different, and that's what's interesting, And yeah, that your answer was actually pretty interesting as well. Yeah, sometimes because these really small stuff is actually the things we forget sometimes that are really important to actually think about. And
absolutely,
those were good.
But just you need to be proud of yourself every day. You make mistake, but you learn from them. That's the way to keep going. And I think that's the beauty of life. If everything was perfect, we as humans being, we try to just delete it. So just be proud of yourself and keep going.
Yeah, it's like, someone said something interesting. Like they made the example of like, imagine if you play Elden Ring and you already had every high tier loot and item, you would probably defeat all the bosses pretty easily and it wouldn't mean anything to you and you would quickly get bored. It's same. I know it sounds weird because like I say, let's say you have everything you've ever wanted, which is great. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, everyone's,
great.
Don't get me wrong, of course, like you could find technical holes in what I'm saying, but bear with me for a second. Like, imagine you quickly got your everything you wanted, that high tech, PC you wanted for 3D modeling, that car, that house, that whatever. But after you get everything to the maximum, you feel no motivation, and you see it's actually in a lot of. It's kind of a weird type of depression, because like, for example, Tyson Fury, like the world heavyweight champion boxing of the world, he famously got super fat and depressed after he won the world title. And he wanted to, okay, I'm not going to continue to say what he tried to do because that might get my podcast might be age restricted. But like he did something stupid to himself. Let's just say that. And the thing is, he said the same thing. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast as well. He talked about this as well. And he said he felt a huge pit in his stomach, his emptiness and depression. And because he reached the top of the mountain, then there was no other mountain for him to climb. Yeah. And you see that a lot in a lot of people and athletes when they get Olympic gold medals. Sometimes they get depression. Like the bronze medalist is happy as hell, but the gold medalist is like, oh God,
Yeah, what else?
It's a weird concept. Yeah, because it's a really weird concept. But when you, for example, have something for yourself that you will do it for the rest of the life, for the joy of it, for the journey of it, that doesn't really happen, And I know it's easier said than done. What I'm saying is just pretty basic, but that's kind of the gist of it, And do you want to add something to it?
No, I think I'm good with that.
All right. And thank you so much for coming for the podcast. It was a real pleasure. It was a nice talk. Where can people contact you if they had any questions? Is their Instagram profile okay to come for contacts?
They can contact me on Instagram. I will always reply to anyone. So yeah, don't hesitate to ask me anything. I will try to find some time and give you the best response I can do for you.
All right. That's awesome. Again, thank you so much for coming by, and thank you to anyone who tuned in and listened to this episode. I hope you're having a good time as well. And if there's any comments or suggestions or critiques, you can leave them down in the comment sections down below, or you can just hit a message on Instagram and I'll check it. And yes, so this will be the last podcast till another month and a half. So I'm going to be a little busy in my personal life. But I promise that I'll resume the recordings and everything because I have a lot of people in my notepad I want to invite and reach out in the future, but I won't because I'm going to be pretty much busy for a while. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can go rewatch the episodes you haven't watched. There's 212 of them. And yeah, take care everyone. Stay safe. Bye. Have a good day.
Bye.